So welcome to GDC New Zealand 2017. As James said, this year's intriguing theme is luck by design. And interestingly enough, I feel incredibly lucky to be here today. So luck has a ton of applications in games, from monetization, loot boxes, to attack rolls in RPGs, and procedural generation. But today, I want to talk about how luck can help you personally achieve your career goals and any endeavors that you might want to take on. But before we get into the topic, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. James already spoiled that, but it's totally fine. So yes, I've worked on all these brands. I've been on For Honor for the past 3 years now, and it's been a really great project for me, especially because of how much I love sword fighting. And so, yeah, I've been in Montreal for 9 years. Before that, I lived in France. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here today. So another thing you might want to know about me is that I am a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and I've watched all of the making-ofs. So you might think that I planned this trip on purpose. I could have looked for a conference to speak at in New Zealand and applied. But that's not actually what happened. I did not know that there was a GDC in New Zealand. And there was certainly no button to apply to keynote speaking here. That I didn't see that. No, the real reason I'm here today is because luck opened up an opportunity for me, and I seized it. Luck is often glanced over because we perceive a certain lack of control over it. We don't really know what it does. In fact, it's so unimportant that it's in every Dark Souls screenshot I found, it's hidden by the character's arm. But I believe that you can control luck. And more than just getting luck on your side, you can actually tame it and decide how you want it to evolve. I like the word design because it implies control, finesse, agency. It's not just about growing your luck, it's about figuring out which direction you want it to go in. Okay, cool, but why would you want to do that? Well, for one, it might get you a gig speaking in a faraway country at a conference, which is pretty awesome. But if you need more of a reason, there's often this saying that success is a lot of work and talent and a little bit of luck. And so as a programmer, I always try to, I see the world mathematically. I can't help it. So I tried to write out a formula for it. Success equals work plus talent plus luck. But this didn't feel quite right to me. And I believe that, because it makes luck seem optional, and I don't think that's the case. I think it should look more like this. Success equals work plus talent times luck. Luck is a multiplier. It enhances and diminishes anything that you do. You can work really hard but have terrible luck, and that's the case of a lot of indie studios. They make a fantastic game, but then they have trouble with discoverability. And opposite, sometimes you got Flappy Bird, that it was made really quickly, but had incredible luck and was propelled into millions of downloads. So I think that luck is actually something very critical that we have to think about. But so what is it exactly? Oblivion tells us something a little bit obscure. Luck has an effect on everything you do, but governs no skill. So I find this a little bit unclear, and it didn't really go with demystifying luck. So I found a definition that I agree with a lot more. It's that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So great. All we have to do is increase our preparation and grow the number of opportunities, like this. Except there's one problem with this, is that they never meet. There's a big chasm in the middle. So really, we want this to look, we want more something like this picture. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so the part of meeting opportunity is still luck, because you can't really plan which opportunities are going to come up. But this is still the sort of picture that we want. We want to move that circle of preparation towards the opportunities that we want, and we want to have more of these opportunities. But how do we do that? Well, I believe that the key lies in taking opportunities. It's recursive. So the secret to designing your luck is to take opportunities. You start from one point and you find an opportunity that's within your area, like where you think you can do it, and then you do it, and then you grow and expand that circle, and then you take another opportunity and you keep going in the direction of your goals. So I like to see opportunities like quests in an RPG, and you'll see a lot of these pictures in my talk. These are some of my favorite games. Though this might indicate my age a little bit. But so as we all know, completing quests gives rewards. And so one of the rewards is XP, which which really demonstrates an increase of our skills and our what we're able to do, how good we do things, how well we do things. And of course, it often unlocks other quests. So, the part 3, part 4, and this happens because by doing a quest, you've gained credibility. So this person was able to defeat the zombie, maybe they'll be able to defeat the dragon. And you've also gained trust. This person helped our village, they actually did something, they are reliable. So this is the whole picture of what happens. You take quests, level up, unlocks other quests. Okay, cool. So we want to find quests. How do we do that? So just like in video games, we need to explore the world. So there's many ways that video games present quests to us. And one of the ways is notice boards in general. So, you arrive in a village, you check out the notice boards, you're like, oh, who went missing? Have the guards issued a wanted poster for someone? So who are the people I need to talk to? And these are quests that are not personal. They're public. They're available to everyone. No one came to you specifically. And so I think the equivalent of real life is all the websites. And so you've got LinkedIn, which has a bunch of opportunities. You have, your friends post random things. Hey, can you help me move? Google, GDC, like conferences. One that's really great is competitions as well. And so even though they're not personal, these types of opportunities can really help your career. Though because they're not specific to you, like no one came to you and was like, hey, do you want to do this? There's usually more competition, but there's also more recognition in general. So it's actually through one of these types of opportunities that I got my job at Ubisoft. I was at university, and every year Ubisoft Montreal organizes a competition for students, and you make teams of 8 students and make a game. And then, of course, you compete, and they choose the best prototypes. They give scholarships and internships. So the game that we made was absolutely terrible. I am so embarrassed. It was the worst presentation of my life. I'm sure of it. But I still got an internship because they recognized that, just because the team failed, the individuals in the team were maybe not so bad. So I'd really encourage you to do these sorts of activities. There's a ton of them. There's Google AI Challenge, competitions. And the nice part about it is you have nothing to lose. Like, it's a competition. No one will know if you fail. But if you win, it's really cool. So then you have NPCs. But I'm not talking about like the generic dead-eye NPCs. I'm talking more about the named ones, the ones that are a little bit more important and give us some interesting quests. And so the NPCs are really the main way that video games present quests to us. And I think it's because as humans, we feel compassion generally, and we want to help each other. So like, I'm a huge sucker for all the fetch quests because, World of Warcraft is like, oh, the gnomes need gloves for the winter. Go get wolf pelts. I'm like, okay. I'm terrible. But so in real life, people generally don't come to you with epic, life-threatening requests, but they do come to you for requests. And the one that I created when I left for New Zealand was the lonely cat quest, because I told my friend, hey, can you please take care of my cat? I'm going away for a week, please. But a lot of the times, there's a bit more interesting quests that come out of your network. And so for instance, we're looking for a concept artist. Do you know anyone? That's a cool quest. And then you find someone that's relevant. So these named NPCs are actually your network. And this is a fantastic source of opportunities. And there's various networks that you can tap into. There's school, like your teachers, colleagues, your company, your friends, whatever hobbies you do. There's a ton of places to connect with people. And I used to be really, really skeptical about the usefulness of networks. And that's because I never really understood how to use them. But I've figured out a few tricks, so hopefully these can help you. So trick number one, don't expect anything. Really, sometimes there's lots of opportunities, sometimes there are none. It's okay. There's also, unlike video game characters, the people in your network are not scripted to feed you quests. They're actually, they will give you quests because they like you and because the opportunity that came along made them think of you. So I think my advice for you is to be genuinely nice to people and to actually connect with them, understand them, get to know them a little bit. You don't have to even be close to them. You just, the important part is that they know you and you know them and you know what they're interested in and they know what you are interested in. So, just talk about what your interests are. What are your career goals? What was the last cool thing that you did this weekend, And that it's as simple as that, really. And so it's entirely because of my network that I'm here today, talking here. This is Bree Code. She was my boss on Child of Light. And so that was a long time ago. I had only 3 months of experience when she hired me. And I always found her to be absolutely brilliant, so I wanted to become friends with her, which I became friends with her. Yay! But she ended up leaving Ubisoft to make her own studio in Germany. That Germany again. I don't know. But we stayed in touch. And recently at work, I got a promotion to senior programmer. So I was really excited about that because she'd known me as a baby programmer. So I wanted to tell her about it. So I did, and she was very happy for me and everything. And then I get no news for a week or two. And then she comes back to me. She's like, hey, I get a ton of talk offers, but I don't have time to take them all. Could I pass them along to you now that you've been doing talks? I'm like, sure, that sounds nice. I didn't think too much of it. I was like, it's probably just going to be a workshop or something, like a small local event with 30 people. But it was not. It was not. Really, she introduced me to Michael, and Michael was like, hey, so do you want to be a keynote speaker for GDC New Zealand? I'm like, what? Really? Are you serious? What is keynote speaking? I don't even know. I had to look that up and panic a little bit, but I knew it was just too awesome of an opportunity to pass up, so I came here. So finally, the last way of getting quests, apart from your network and just some research, is to actually set your own goals. So in Minecraft, you want to make a lava castle, which prompts you to go out and get all the materials for it, and it's a big adventure. And in real life, what's pretty close is entrepreneurship. So I put entrepreneurship, but it's not actually as formal necessarily. It can just be you decide that you want to make a game, or you want to build your own company, or organize events. So these two lovely ladies are from Montreal. This is Rebecca Cohen-Palacios and Tanya Short. And they are industry veterans who founded a nonprofit organization in Montreal dedicated to helping women make their first games. And their organization had a huge impact on the gaming industry in Montreal. This chart, actually, that you see is the game-making activities by some of the participants in the program 1 year later. And as you can see, it's just super dense. Like, by them making up this organization, they've created opportunities for so many people. They've created learning opportunities for people who want to get into games. They've created mentorship opportunities, teaching opportunities. And really, they've really grown the industry. There's a lot more events, and the pool of talent has gotten bigger. So this is like making your own quests can be a really fulfilling way of doing opportunities. All right, so now you know how to find opportunities. Great, you found a whole bunch of them. Now you just have to seize them. You have to do the quest. But of course, sometimes it can be really hard to click the accept button. Like in a game, you're just like, whatever, 20 quests. But in real life, it's a lot scarier. And like if I told you, hey, 2 weeks from now, I want all of you to give a 45-minute talk in front of a bunch of industry professionals about something you've done at work. I mean, I imagine that like a bunch of you would freak out. I know I would. So sometimes you feel irrational, but I haven't done anything at work. That's not true. You feel fearful. I can't give a talk. I'm going to pee myself and die. I've actually heard that one. Hopeless. I'll never get it done in 2 weeks. Yeah, well, maybe not, you know. But really, so there's a lot of reasons why we don't do things. And a lot of it is fear that stops us. But a lot of the time, it looks scarier than it actually is. It's not so bad. So one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest fears is fear of failure. And anyone who's played Dark Souls is going to be very familiar with this screen. So games are amazing teachers in failure. We often are expected to fail in games and have to try again. But very few games actually force us to deal with the consequences of failure, of success, of whatever the outcome was. And that's, I think, the scary part about doing things in real life. So the good news is that as gamers, you already have a ton of experience with failing. Now you just have to do it in real life. So in games, failure and success are often set up as a binary condition. It's success or failure. So you either finished the level or you did not. You either killed the enemy or it killed you. So of course, if we think about failure this way, it's very intimidating. You know, what if I fail? Capital letters. It's much more terrifying than what if I forget to talk about my second example? You know, much less scary. So in real life, like I think this is wrong for real life, and I think it should be more of a gradient. So you've got, whenever you do something, you've got 0% success to 100% success, and you're going to be somewhere in between. It's going to be pretty rare that you're at 0%, but you're also probably never going to be at 100%. And so I think when you're trying to take an opportunity, you shouldn't think, I must reach 100% or else I've failed. You should relax that perfectionism barrier and take the opportunity as long as you can be good enough. I think that's a really important concept, and it's something that really like stops us. It stopped me from sharing my prez earlier with people whose opinion I valued, because I'm like, it's not ready yet. Well, it's okay, just good enough. You get feedback on it, and then you improve. And so what I want to say is that you decide what good enough is. And this value changes depending on the opportunity. If you're doing something that you suck at, like maybe you'll be happy to get 10% success. For instance, when I try to draw, like art is, I am very happy when I get something that resembles something else. But if you're a pro gamer and you've got a cold and you feel like you're only going to give 90% of your best, well, maybe 90% isn't good enough, and you're going to leave that opportunity to one of your teammates. So it's really contextual. So I want to talk about an experience, an opportunity that I took where I decided that I could do good enough. So last year I connected with a woman named Jill. She had been around in my network, but we never really talked. And I'm not sure we would be friends because we're very different. But we were at the airport at San Francisco, and we ended up chatting a bit. And she was telling me that she was giving this what is it? She was teaching a class, a narrative class at Champlain College. And so I told her, oh yeah, I give programming workshops sometimes. I love teaching. And so we took the plane, and I didn't hear from her for a month. And then she contacts me, and she says, hey, the place I'm teaching at, they're looking for a programming teacher. Are you interested? So I'm like, sure, why not? If you haven't guessed yet, I have trouble saying no to opportunities. If anyone can help me with that, I'd like give a talk on that next time. Once I figure it out, maybe I'll tell you. So anyway, I say, of course, I'm interested. So I get to the school's director's office, and she starts explaining to me what the course is about. So she's like, yeah, you got like 6 programmers. Oh, that's not much. 3 designers. I'm like, I have designers? And like 6 artists. I'm like, what? It's a programming course. And so like in my head, I'm trying to figure this out without being too blunt. And like, I'm like, what? And she tells me, yeah, it's production too. I'm like, oh, production. Right. So I was like, shit, I don't know production. Like, that's not my area of expertise. Like, teaching a full class was already a big deal for me because I'd only done workshops and tutorials and things like that. So that was already going to be a bit out of my comfort zone. But then when it was production, I was like, ooh, that's an extra challenge. Am I going to be able to do it? And as you can probably guess, I took the opportunity anyways, even though I had also agreed to give a GDC talk at the same time. So yeah, it was hard. But the reason I took the opportunity was because, one, I thought that I already had enough relevant experience that I would be close enough. So in that good enough, I wasn't in the good enough yet, but I was pretty close. And the second part that made me think I could go for it was that I knew, like, I might not know that much about production, but I know people who do know about production. And this is like something that is also part of your preparation and part of your skills. It's, are you able to get help from the people around you? And so what I managed to negotiate was I would have the previous teacher help me with the class. So she mentored me, she gave me her outline, I was able to ask her question. I randomly stumbled upon another person who worked at my company who had also given the class, so I managed to get help from there, and I bounced ideas off of my friends, and so I totally reached the good enough part. In fact, I would say I did well. I did well. I was super proud of the games that these students came up with. So when you're trying to take opportunities, don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone. But this sort of brings up the question of quest difficulty. And this is roughly how it maps to your state of mind. So easy quests are within your comfort zone, but you won't learn that much. Medium quests are outside your comfort zone, but you will learn a lot. And then hard quests are just panic. I mean, you'll probably still learn a little bit, but you won't learn as efficiently. This happened to me when I tried to skip a math class of like advanced calculus for engineers without taking the requirements. I did not have a nice time. Like, I failed that class and had to take it again. So yeah, when you're in the panic mode, you don't end up learning as much. Which is why if you come up against like a monster that's really a lot tougher than you, instead of sort of wasting your time and like drowning, sometimes you're better off just going away for a little bit, leveling up, and coming back. And when you're more ready to face that opportunity. And so I want to impart on you that that is okay to do that. You don't have to say yes to everything. Okay, so let's say you've prepared really well for the opportunity and you are ready to do it. Versus the medium quest, yes. So I have another Dark Souls story. So I was playing Dark Souls 2 and there was this boss, Executioner's Chariots. I was in a great spot. I hadn't died in a long time. I had a ton of XP, so I really did not want to die. So I did something a bit unusual. I read the guide. I read the guide for 20 minutes, being like carefully planning out what was going to happen. I got people to join me, like external players to join me so that we could fight and kill that boss. So we enter the room, the cinematic starts, and I see this scary skeleton chariot like running right at me. So I think to myself, oh, I'm gonna buy some time while I figure out the map and run away from it. And of course, Dark Souls being Dark Souls, I only ran for like 3 seconds because there was a pit right there. You died. So I felt a mixture of emotions at that moment. Really, like, you know, it was sort of like that meme. I'm not even mad. Like, I was kind of mad, but at the same time, I was really impressed. Like, that got me so well. It's like the brilliant level design. So anyway, I'm still not recovered. So the point of this story is that sometimes no matter how well prepared you are, you're still gonna fail. And sometimes, I mean, even in that metric, the good enough, like if you don't reach 100%, there's still failure in there somewhere. And that's okay. And you should be all right with failure because in my experience, failure and success teach us different things. Success teaches us what works, so you know that this combination of things worked. And failure teaches us why it worked, and so we can draw a better mental model from that. So instead of doing my Dark Souls thing and being like, okay, I'm gonna go to this cover and this cover, I understand the point of the level now. I understand why it's designed that way. And I found this true like with assignments at school or anything, like even in game development. People generally don't give as much feedback for success. You get like great marks on an essay and you got like, oh, good job. You're like, okay, but like, really? Like anything I can do differently, Whereas with failure, you're like, I had this math teacher who would write horror on the next, horreur, horror, horrible, horrible. So you'd be like, oh, this is bad. I don't know why, but at least you could. The teachers generally really put emphasis on failure and help you learn from that. And in game development, I found that to be true as well. We have play sessions, and the players, they always complain, but they don't often say, yes, the camera was lovely. It did everything I wanted it to do. It's like, no, this is shit, and it's totally broken. I'm like, can you overlook that a little bit and give me real feedback? So yeah, so I'm not sure if this is always true, but this is what I've seen personally. So the key takeaways of this presentation. So opportunities are awesome. And really, I believe that they're the secret to helping us grow as people. They send us on amazing adventures, and they help us grow and meet new people. Take harder quests, but relax your expectations. This is really the way that you're gonna get the most out of the opportunities that you take. And always learn. Learn from doing the quests, learn from your successes, and learn from your failures. You really end up growing a lot as a person. So thank you. May the luck be with you. So I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, I think,
Yeah.
or right on time, I don't know. But if you have any questions, now is the time. Or later, I mean, I'll be at drinks later.
Some questions now. Anybody? Lots of faces. Oh my goodness, fill them back. All the way up there.
Not exactly a question, just a recommendation for your forward tour.
Sorry?
I recommend the Howard evening dinner tour.
Thank you. Yes.
Book early.
Book early. Cool, cool. I'm actually going Saturday, the Hobbiton. I'm going to Hobbiton Saturday, which is like a dream come true. And also the Warm Glow Caves, which I'm very excited about.
Great to meet a fellow Doug, isn't it? And just like with games, do you feel that playing a lot of games taught you resilience?
Resilience?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm sorry. Okay. The question was, do I feel like playing games has taught me resilience? Right? Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been playing video games since I was 2 years old, and maybe it's made me very stubborn, I'm not sure, but like I am determined to succeed, and I've always been good at games, so I'm also very competitive, especially at sword fighting, which is awesome actually. But yeah, I think, like, I do think that games, like I said, are amazing teachers in failure, and I would recommend playing like all kinds of games, because I feel like each type of games really teaches us different things. Like some games, I couldn't get a picture in there. I tried really hard, but I love Animal Crossing as well. And I think that teaches us, friendship and relationships and helping your neighbor. And I think it's a lovely game. But I also love Dark Souls, which definitely resilience. I took a break after that incident. I didn't play for like a few days to cool off. Yeah.
How do you deal with losing your opportunity? In the case of it's too high level, you can't deal with it now. Sometimes that goes away and it doesn't come back. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think if there's times where that happened to me personally, like where it felt important. I mean, it sort of depends on how much you wanted the opportunity as well, because I've lost a lot of opportunities, but I didn't really mind. And part of it is because I do so much stuff that it's generally better if I lose opportunities. But I think it's, just like failure, I think you have to sort of accept it. But I would definitely, if that happened to me, I would definitely keep it in the back of my head and try it again later. Like, try to set up the conditions for it again later. And if it doesn't exist anymore, I would make it myself, because I think it's really cool. Yeah.
With the as-you-take opportunities, how do you then find your ways to then turn around and use that to give other people opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't have time. I messed up my slides. So I think it's really, really important to share opportunities. With the people in your network. For one, it's a really nice gift. If you know someone is really into RPGs and you find an RPG meetup and you can't go, you're like, oh, would you like my ticket? And they'll be really happy, because it's a thoughtful gift. But in general, what I'd like to do is take an opportunity and then create opportunities within that opportunity. So to give you an example, when I taught at Champlain College, the students weren't supposed to have they were just supposed to have like a regular grading at the end. They do a project and then the teacher grades them. But I thought that was kind of lame. So I ended up organizing a jury of people. So I invited some of my industry friends who I thought would be good judges and good at giving feedback. And so then those people came over, so it was good for the students because they had an extra people giving them feedback. But on top of that, one of the people I brought in did such a great job that the students recommended her as a potential teacher. So then she ended up sending her CV, and now she's going to be teaching a class next semester. So if you can do that, like take opportunities and then bring other people with you, that's cool. Yeah?
Your bio talks about making games as a way of learning maths. Could you talk to the affordances, just quickly, of that?
I'm not sure I understand.
Why? Why is making games good for teaching maths? I think I have it. I know why, but I want to hear your reason.
So I'm not sure where I said that like making games is good at learning math. That's what you're saying that I said, right?
And maybe even learning in general.
The learning in general, yeah, but even math. I mean, I could talk about that too. I love math. So actually, I've seen that games teach spatial reasoning really well, especially 3D games, because you have to sort of know where you're going, and I've always found that to be really useful. Like there was the Wii Cerebral Challenge game or something where you have to put objects in a 3D space, like rotate them correctly. And I've read research that says people who play games are much better at that sort of 3D space challenge. But on top of that, I mean, there's a lot of educational games as well. I'm not sure Call of Duty will teach you much about math, or, I mean, it might teach you about history, maybe. It might teach you about weaponry. I mean, I think like weapons are really interesting. I love armor. I love like weapons. So I think there's a lot to teach, but even more so, I think multiplayer games in general teach us collaboration and teach us competition. So I think there's basically just so many different things to learn from games. But I don't think it's just video games. I mean, board games as well. Going out for drinks with your friends can teach you a lot of things. Just meeting new people. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah? Over there.
You mentioned about sort of accepting hard requests and putting into panic mode, and then you found yourself in that situation. What do you do when you find yourself in that situation, and how do you sort of recover from that?
That's a good question. Generally, you try not to do that again. Like, yeah, after I failed the math class, I didn't actually take the previous requirements, but I sat in on the previous requirements. But I mean, of course, sometimes you sort of underestimate the challenge, and that happens a lot, actually. And over time, you get better at judging it. But you know, when I taught the class, I thought it was going to be a lot closer to giving a workshop, and I was really surprised that you have a relationship with the students, like you're seeing them over a full 4 months, and so it's a totally different thing. You're positioning yourself differently in relation to them because you're their senior, sort of like they look to you for knowledge and guidance. So a lot of the time you underestimate, and I think the best way to deal with that is to reach out and ask for help. So let's say I agreed to do this talk and I realized like a month before that it's going to be terrible. I would have contacted Michael and being like, Michael, I need your help. What do I do? And Michael, having a lot of experience, would probably have been able to help me and be like, okay, look, we're gonna work through this together. Here is like a talk structure. You can do the simpler version, or here if you need someone to talk to. So I think one of the most powerful tools that we have is really the people around us, because there's so much experience and knowledge around. And you sometimes, like a lot of the times, you just have to go out and ask nicely, and be willing to learn from that. Yeah.
someone's last question. You talked about running away from the high level enemies and adjust the payload. Do you have insights for developers in terms of how they can tell that their project is actually high level and need to shelve it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the question is how, for developers, if I have any insight on how to realize that your project is going to be too hard. Again, I mean, a lot of it is experience that you get over time, and I think similar to the previous answer, you can if you're sort of on the fence about it, if you're not sure, you can ask someone else for their opinion as well. But I mean, it all depends on the seniority of your team and how well you work together. I mean, because sometimes an inexperienced team that works well together is going to be able to achieve really, really great things. Whereas like very large teams at Ubisoft with a ton of people might not, just because maybe the communication isn't working. So it's very contextual. I'm not sure if you have a follow-up question, like a specific case or... Okay. I think that's it. Okay, well, thank you very much.